Ladies and gentlemen, this is Strategy Joe, and today we'll be taking a look at this crazy game called Amazing Cultivation Simulator. As the name probably implies by now, this is actually a Chinese game that was released a little while back and that is now currently soon to be available in native English. I'd like to extend my thank you to Jalio PR firm that provided me a free copy of this game. I mean, just take a moment and look at the email they sent me about this game. How could you refuse giving a try to this game after reading something like that? I for sure could not stop thinking about this game while downloading it and while spending about an hour figuring out to get it into English. Maybe that should have been included in the email, but I went through the forums, found whatever was not in Chinese, and was able to, awesomely cultivate my way through the proper way to figure out how to put the English version. But if you buy the game after the 25th, you will be in luck because you will have a native access to the English language and you will not have to input a weird code into the beta system to get a weird copy of English. Now, initially, my objective when I got this game installed and started playing was to actually design a way to try and review it, because from the information I was able to gather, it seems to be a contender to be something like rimworld, which sounds very interesting to see what we could get from the Far East that will resemble rimworld. But there was one little problem with the game. I understand it's early access and everything, and I don't plan on raging onto the developer of the game, but I was not able to save. That's it. I was not able to make any save on my progress. So I played maybe 5 different games. I got a little bit farther each time because I had a little bit more time to invest. But I don't really have time for 8 hours sit down playing this game one shot non-stop without thinking about what else to do with my life. So there's no way I could have made a full review. So that's why I'll be making a preview of my impression of the game up to now, what I've seen and discovered playing this game. And maybe eventually after the 25th, if the game is functional, I will be able to delve deeper into the depth of this game to actually find at its core if it's actually worth going through a Chinese to English translation of a rimworld clone. So as you have understood up to now, this is not a review as I'm usually doing. This is a preview as I'm never really doing before. From my impression to the game, it's actually pretty decent. Now, whether or not it looks like rimworld, for sure, just looking at the concept and a very large and broad view, it is very similar to rimworld. And I find the graphic to be nicer looking than rimworld. But I think it will be important maybe to notify you that I actually never played rimworld, so I only go from my impression I had playing videos and comparing to this game. So actually, rather than comparing to rimworld, I think a more accurate the comparison I could make on my own, because I spent a lot of time on it, will be against Dwarf Fortress. Of course, if you compare graphics, well, there's no graphics in Dwarf Fortress, unless of course you're a loser using a tile set. But generally, the idea is very similar to what you're getting. So you start with a little group of 3 peoples. There's a lot of customization available. It seems like it's pulling a lot of lore from some Chinese weird Taishu kind of things that I have no understanding of. But you can customize either some humans, some weird creatures, and attribute some skills and settings. But I find, generally speaking, trying to read and understand what's going on is just so confusing. The text is in English, there are not that many typos or errors, but it's just complex. It doesn't like ring a bell, make sense. Maybe I don't have the cultural ties into the game and what it's trying to bring onto the table. Maybe if it was about something that's culturally closer to the Western ideals, it will make more sense to me. But right now, when I read things, and it's just difficult to understand what really is the scope of the game. So we will start by the basic to make more sense. You will have to settle up a little camp, build things like a fireplace, a couple of places for expanding resources, the wood, the stones you're breaking, you're mining. So you have a nice build system that's pretty tight and solid and not too complex to understand. You also have a lot of different actions you can undertake, like harvesting stuff on the ground, chopping wood, clearing stump of wood or little rocks, or mining big chunk of rocks, or hunting animals. And it's all pretty straightforward. So you designate an area you want stuff taken care of in a certain zone, and it will be done. You just need to be sure that you have the proper tools available for your people to actually pull the actions that they're required to do. After that, you start building up a little bit of things. And one pattern that you'll notice is throughout the days, your characters will be doing some foundations. At first, I wasn't really sure to understand what they mean with foundations, but it turns out it's some sort of cult ideas of worshipping something, and the idea expands more and more. And after a little bit of time playing the game, you have one of the followers in your clan that will be able to transcend to another level of physical iteration and ideas, and it's very complicated to understand and to explain quickly without really delving into the depth. As I've mentioned here, I'm just doing a preview and not a full-fledged review of the code system and stuff, due to the simple fact that I'm not able to save the game, so I'm not able to track progress over a long period to fully understand the mechanics of the game. But that character will become transcending into another state of whatever, and once you achieve that Buddha status, you will be able to create a cult. And now that's a very interesting take onto the world, because there is a war map where you can send off disciples to convert people and bring them back to your camp. But as I mentioned, I'm just not able to reach that point in a single sitting. Maybe if I could spend more than 30 minutes of my life playing a game at once, I could be able to have a deeper understanding of the game. But outside of that cool stuff that looks very interesting, but thanks to the game being broken and unable to be explored, you can still build a lot of stuff around. So you exploit the resources, you cut down the trees, you mine stuff, you hunt every animal you can find, and you, I guess, cultivate stuff. But even then, I laid down a wheat field, but I never got around to cultivating it because, well, it doesn't grow in 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Anyway, you're also able to construct walls, floors, and stuff, and build fireplace and oil lamps to gauge the temperature. So there's a certain survival aspect embedded into the game, but I never got to the point where this survival aspect hit me. But I do see the potential of the game, including temperature, food, drink, and sleep into the game, which is a nice element to embed into the title. So in general, since this is just a preview and not an in-depth review, there are a lot of very interesting elements that are embedded, and I personally found the game to be very responsive and plays pretty well. And that is really coming off from playing Dwarf Fortress. I'm saying that because, I remember I'm playing Dwarf Fortress, I'm giving out orders, and it's just whatever, man. You order people to drink, and they'll go just drink some water in a river and then get killed by a goblin or something. So this is a nice change of pace with these things, because the game is very solid and tight. I don't really have more words to describe the gameplay. I think you have to give it a try if you're into that type of game. If you like rimworld and you like games like Dwarf Fortress, these games are definitely something very similar to what Amazing Cultivation Simulator can grant you. And really, it's out of my normal to not be able to recommend wholeheartedly or recommend a specific game or title. But in the case of this game, I'm really in a tight spot where I find a difficult time being able to tell you if it's worthwhile or not. From what I've seen up to now playing the game, having a little bit of fun and diddly-ding around with building a little bit of houses, building a little bit of stuff, having one of my disciple transcend onto the next level of the cult and starting my cult, it really engaged me into the game and made me want to play more. And I'm not usually a kind of person that plays these types of survival building games, um, but this specific title was really intriguing to me, thanks again to the very enticing email I received about it, and the pretty solid and substantial gameplay I was able to go through up to now. So anyway, I'm not quite sure really what to do with the footage, so I decided that I will just give you a chance to see maybe a little bit more of the game, so you can either watch some more or skip ahead and see what it develops into the first 40 or so minutes. So feel free to either skip the video, dislike the video for dropping about 30 minutes of uncommented content into a video. But anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy this stuff, and let me know if you're interested in that game. It seems very interesting to me. I'll definitely go back and check more later, because I mean it's just I just kind of like it. It's weird. I don't like the fact that it's broken, but I like the fact that it seems to be fun and enjoyable to play. So hopefully you enjoyed this quick video, and thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more, especially more of this game if it's fixed one day. So this is Strategy Joe, and I'm signing out.